Okay. So I have this situation, and a lot of what you said today I can apply, but I feel like I need to ask the specifics so that it can be very clear.
You know what, though? If you get really specific about a situation, it doesn't matter how clear we are, your specifics about the situation will keep you from hearing our brilliant answer. You have a better chance of hearing the solution if we don't get too specific about the specifics of the situation.
Okay, I'll be as general as I can. All right. So I have this huge family crisis between my husband and my mother.
Divorce both of them.
Well, it's close to that point, and it's been going on for months. And I'm not going to go through the details of the events, but the result is I'm now separated from my husband, and I have a very strained relationship with my mother.
Because being in the middle of their tug of war, you are not in alignment with who you are, so you can't think clearly.
Yes, I feel that.
And you blame both of them for how you feel.
Yeah. So I'm kind of at this place now where...
Do you think the resolution is they have to get along before you can feel better? Because if that's the case, too bad. This is a triad that was lined up before any of you came into your physical bodies. Because what you're showing each other, and you may be the only one who gets it, it really is for you. Unconditional love is, and such boring words we know, but unconditional love is being able to stay in the vortex regardless of the condition. Conditional love says, when you two get along, because I love you and I love you, when you love each other, I feel so good. I love you and I love you, and when you love each other, I feel so good. But I can't control those conditions, and you're really mad at each other. You don't love each other. So my logic says, when you love each other, then I feel good, but when you don't love each other, then I feel bad. So I'm giving you the power to how I feel. And what you're going to teach me is that I'm so sick of it, that I am so tired of being tired. I'm so tired of being out of the vortex. I'm so tired about not being able to control this that I'm giving up. I'm letting go of the control of the uncontrollable. Finally, you have convinced me to give up control of the uncontrollable. And in the process, I'm going to apply the only control I really have, which is my alignment with who I am. But for me to be in alignment with who I really am, I have to love you and I have to love you. Never mind that you don't love each other. I have to find the vortex version of you. It's so interesting because these two, perhaps more than a lot of other things that you've lived through your life experience, these two have caused you to put more into your vortex in a short period of time than anything that you've ever encountered before. So they are the reason for dramatic expansion, and their behavior is also the reason that you're not in the vortex having the expansion. That's why you're extra mad at them. So if you could just appreciate them for the expansion and not be mad at them because their behavior is holding you out of the vortex. Now you're in the vortex, you're feeling great, you're appreciating them. We know you hear this conceptually.
But I'm not feeling great because I feel like, I don't want to be separated from my husband, and I don't want this strained relationship with my mother, but I don't really know how to.
You have to find a way of thinking about something that doesn't tear you apart. So at first, pick things that don't have anything to do with either one of them. And eventually, you'll be able to make a list of positive aspects about each of them. In other words, it's exactly the same thing that we were saying to the woman who had arthritis in her hips. You've got to find a way to feel hopeful without recovery. You've got to have this mess of a thing going on and feel hopeful. Because in hopefulness, there's alignment that will bring about resolution. But as long as you believe that they have to change their opinion of each other and their behavioral response to each other, you're all sort of dead in the water.
I've accepted that they'll never probably speak again in life. But I have a hard time, the demands or the requests that my husband's make, the conditions that he's putting on me in order for us to reconcile.
Here's the thing. He's putting conditions on you, not just when he's outside the vortex, but when you're outside the vortex too. In other words, we promise you, when we were offering the hypothetical of how good it feels in the vortex, and you said, but I'm not there, I don't feel good. But we want you to hear this, because you can reach the place where even though they're behaving that way, and even though they're both issuing ultimatums to you, if there's ever someone who's been torn apart over something, it's you. Mm-hmm. But we want you to understand that you do have the ability to come into alignment even with them behaving that way.
How do I do that?
So we've been talking about it in general terms, and we'll get specific with you here in a minute, but we want to lay a bit more of the basis first. We want to convince you of the viability of it, and then we'll deal with the tactics of it. So assuming that you could make your way into the vortex and practice the vibration of it long enough that you feel softer and easier, and now your husband is offering an ultimatum: never bring that person to my home again.
Exactly what he said.
But you're in the vortex. And when you're in the vortex, you're tuned in, tapped in, turned on. And you're in alignment with the best of him, not who he's being in this moment. You're in alignment with who he really is. And so the words that come from you then are inside the vortex words that sound like, well, if anybody has the right to make a decision like that, it certainly is you. I know that you care about your space and you care about how you feel, and I really get why you're feeling what you're feeling. And I gotta say, having witnessed every part of it, she has that coming big time. I don't disagree with you. And I also understand your powerful desire to maintain some semblance of a loving space because you want to feel good. That's why I love you. You're like me. I don't know anybody that wants to feel any better than you want to feel. And so I get it why you feel protective and are wanting to guard yourself and me, us, from something that feels so toxic. I get that.
Gosh, you sound just like him. That's exactly what he says to me. He says those things.
Toxic.
Yeah.
What's happening to you is that when he demands something of you, you get your back all up because you don't want him telling you what you can and cannot do.
Yeah, that's exactly true.
He's stepping all over your toes of freedom, you see.
Yeah.
But when you've decided to align with who you are, nobody can keep you from your alignment. That's the thing that we're wanting to convey to you. And when you are in alignment with who you are, it is our promise to you that you will evoke the best from everyone with whom you are interacting. We said to a woman one day who was having a similar situation with her husband, or maybe it was the husband who was having a similar situation with the wife. When you're in the vortex and you are unconditionally loving someone, it knocks all of their guardedness right out from under. It knocks those legs right out from under them. They melt into the understanding that you have for them. But you've got to practice that. You have to be convinced that your remedy is in the vortex, and you have to decide that you're going to get there in spite of them, regardless, apart from them. You have to do this vortex work without trying to coddle or move in the direction of either one of them. And once you have found your vibrational stance, then the perfect words will flow from you relative to both of them. Nothing is worse than being in the middle. But the flaw in your reasoning is you think they are the reason that you are in the middle. And we know that you are the reason that you are in the middle. Because you have let your mother in your early life call you away from your vortex. And you have let your husband in your later life call you away from your vortex. You have convinced both of them that their happiness depends upon your allegiance and alignment with them. And now you must show yourself first and them later that your happiness is about your allegiance with your vortex, and they can be damned. And we don't mean that you don't love them. We just mean you cannot cater to demanding people and ever get them where they want to be or you where you want to be, you see. So then, you're hearing it. So then, once you come into alignment, and you will, we can feel you moving in that direction even as we are visiting. As you come into alignment, then the wisdom that comes from you. In other words, when you first come into your physical body, almost all people who approach you have this attitude. Your world will go better for you if you go along with what I say and what I think. That's what parenting for the most part is. Right. And they're well-meaning, but they do not realize that in that whole process, they're training you away from your vortex. And now, here's 3 people, all pulled completely away from their vortex, all miserable because no one's happy unless they are in alignment with their vortex, and all blaming each other for the misery that you're feeling, you see. You have to be the leader. You have to get into the vortex. Your heart has to soar. You have to get your balance back. This whole thing has to start being funny to you. You have to start recognizing that this is like a dramatic Shakespeare play playing out right in the middle of your own living room.
That's what it feels like.
Didn't you find it rather remarkable that we know everything on your mind, right down to the words that are being spoken, because we're in the vortex where everything that you want is? We're communicating with you in very clear fashion, and you will do the same for them. And you will convince each of them independently of your absolute adoration and appreciation of your vortex and your alignment, and then of your appreciation of them. And it's our promise to you. You see, when you're in the vortex, you open to this infinite love. When you're in the vortex, you have this capacity for love and appreciation. When they see that you're not catering, that you're vortexing, that you're aligning with who you are, in time, they will come to realize that you are not to be competed over by them, that you are enough for all of it, that there is enough flowing through you and to them and to a lot of other things. You can work this out. And you are going to have a homecoming. Can you imagine the thrill of coming into alignment with this? When this clicks into place for you emotionally, you're going to have an orgasmic experience, the likes of which you have never experienced before. We're not kidding you. When it locks in for you, you're going to know it. It's like the invention of the world has just lighted up for you. You're going to have that emotional moment, and then you're going to have the thrill of watching everything else just come into alignment. But you're going for the emotional clicking. That's your work, the emotional clicking.
When I feel good, is that how I know I'm there? How I feel?
It will feel like this. It will feel like, I honestly don't know what the big deal has been. Honestly, it's just going to feel amazing when it clicks into place. We're being wrung off the stage here for timing on the recording. You got it.
I've got it.
Good time for a
Thank
segment
you.
of refreshment.